Hey everybody, Nathan Elson here, and welcome back to another episode of How I Got the Shot. Now this series takes you behind the scenes of my shoots and it shows you my lighting setup and the thought process behind getting the photos. Then we jump into the post-production and I show you how I got to the final image. This is the image that we are creating using no window light whatsoever. We're faking it all in studio, and with that said, let's just get into it. So here we are in the studio and I'm running a 3-light setup. Now my main light is an 8600 Pro with a Strobe Pro optical snoot with a 50mm lens attached, and that's what's giving me the fake window light look. To the left of my main light, I have a 12 by 12 foot scrim that is diffusing the light from 2 additional 8600 Pro heads. Those heads have medium deep umbrellas attached to give it a wide throw of soft light. This is acting as my fill light to soften the shadows in the image to make it look much more natural, much like it would if it was coming through an actual window. So real quick, I did just want to touch on something with this Strobe Pro optical snoot. Now I have done a video talking all about this modifier, so I'm not going to get heavily into it, but there has been an update that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and that's this little adapter here. Now this mount is actually a Canon mount, but I shoot Nikon. So they've made this Nikon, not specifically for me, but they've made this Nikon mount so that you can attach Nikon lenses to this modifier. Now the nice thing about this, and what makes it actually pretty much game changing, is that with my Nikon lenses, when there's no power supplied to them, you can see here that the aperture blades close down and there's very little light that it allows it to come through. So you need a lot of power coming through this modifier through this lens in order to actually get the effect. Now what they've done with this new adapter is that once it's attached, is now you can actually control the aperture blades independently. So when you've got this small amount of light coming through, you can actually open up your lens to allow a ridiculous amount of light through. So this is a 1.4 lens, so it opens up significantly. So if you don't have lenses that actually have a manual aperture ring on them, this is a fantastic way to be able to get a lot more light coming through your lens in order to use this optical snoot at its maximum abilities. Now the other thing that I did here was that these take drop-in filters. And so I've got one here called Warehouse, which looks like this. There you go. And then another one here called Boxed. Now what I found was the one that was boxed, there just wasn't enough lines going through the image. But what I found with the one that's called Warehouse is the lines were too thin. So what I ended up doing was just taking them and combining them and turning them into something that looked like this. And that's what actually created the window light effect to make it look a little bit more warehousey, everything like that. Drop this into the actual optical snoot and off we went. So with that, I'll take you guys back into the studio and run you through all of the settings. Okay, so just to give you guys a rundown of the settings for this shot, I've got my main light here, which is the Strobe Pro optical snoot metered to f2.8 at ISO 100 with a 1/200th second of a shutter speed. Now I'm shooting with the D800 and the Sigma 85mm ART, which is tethered into Capture One Pro. So when it comes to the fill light, I tend to treat this more as like a feel rather than a rule. I'll set my key light and then adjust my fill as necessary in order to achieve the look that I'm going for. But I do find that this type of lighting setup does tend to be within 1 to 2 stops of the key light. So that would make the fill light metered somewhere around f1.4 to f2. So now that we have that dialed in, I'll take you guys through the retouching. So here we are in Capture One Pro, and I'm gonna be honest, there isn't a whole lot of retouching that needs to be done to these images. The lighting is actually quite dialed in, and our model Daniela actually has amazing skin. So there isn't a whole lot that's gonna be done here, but I did wanna walk you guys through a little bit of what I've done in order to give these images their final polish. Now, in Capture One here, all I'm going to do is I'm gonna come into my presets here and I'm going to click on the one that says Sunkissed. Now, with this, as you can see, it gives the image a warmer feel. If I go from the before and the after, before, after, you can see it warms everything up. It gives it more of that daylight feel. Now I do want to bring the shadows up just a touch, probably in there. And that's really all we need to do to this image from a color grading perspective. If you start off with your image as it should be before you get into post, it makes post substantially easier. So with that, now that we've got that dialed in, I'm going to take you guys into Photoshop and show you a little bit of the skin retouching that we're going to do on this image. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. And one of the main things that I like to do when I'm retouching is a dodge and burn. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this full size. We're just going to come up and we're going to click on this little action panel. And I'll include this action in the description below. It's completely free. You can install it, use it as much as you like. It's a fantastic tool to have if you're not already doing this. And so what I'm going to do is click on the dodge and burn, and it's going to make two layers. One is a burn layer, one is a dodge layer, and they're both black layers. So in order to use this, all you need to do is make sure that your paintbrush is selected, that you've got your mask set to white so that you're painting over it because it's a black layer. Then come up to your flow and set this to between 3 and 5%. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use it to essentially just even out a little bit of the skin tones, the natural kind of variance that we get in our skin. So what I'm going to do is just with the dodge tool selected, I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to paint away just a little bit of these variances. And I'm not going to get too crazy heavy into the retouch on this because like I said, there isn't a whole lot to do, but just to kind of show you guys how the tools work and my method of retouching. So just to show you this here quick, if I turn this off and on, you can see quickly it's just smoothing everything out and it's making it look much more natural versus running something like a softening action or something like that, which is just going to blur everything. This keeps all the pores intact. It is a little bit more intensive in terms of how much time it takes to edit your images, but the end result does look much, much cleaner. So if we just look at that, that's great there. We're going to just come down here. And again, just especially in areas like the thighs and the arms and different things like that, you can get a lot of these little color variations just from the blood going through underneath the skin and everything like that. It's something that's basically unavoidable, but if you clean it up, it does tend to look better as a final image. So I'm not going to go through it all. Obviously, like I said, I don't want you guys sitting here watching me for the next 15 minutes, just simply dodging things out. But just to give you a quick overview, this here. So again, that just shows you before and after, before and after. It doesn't take a lot of time. And something you can do too, if you can't really tell the different variances in the skin, an option that you have is to come down here and create a black and white filter here. Slide that to the top. No, you don't want to replace it. You want to go this up top. There you go. And you can turn this on and off. So what'll happen is it just allows you to see the little skin variances that you might not be able to see perfectly when the image is in color. And then you can toggle that on and off and then switch with your dodge and burn. And even if it's on, it'll still show you the dodge and burn areas that you're using. The one thing I will say though is make sure that if it is a color image and you don't want it to be black and white, make sure you turn this option off before you compress the image back down. So that's all I'm going to do with that there. So that would be essentially kind of my spot dodge and burn. And then so I'm going to flatten that down and saying, do you want to discard the hidden layers? Yes, because I don't want it to convert it to black and white. Hit OK. And then I'm going to run this again. Now, what I'll do with this is I'll just bring the image back down to a little bit of a smaller size. And this is more of a global dodge and burn. So this is how you bring out little, contouring in the face and different things like that. So I'm going to bring in with my burn brush here and just going to come in and just kind of follow sort of what I've already done with the lighting, but just to make it pop a little bit more. And if I turn this off and on, you can see it's not a huge difference, but it's adding just a little bit more kind of drama to the image and stuff like that. And you can come through and, you know, lighten certain areas, darken certain areas. Bring that in. Even if you want to darken some of the shadows, you could come in and do it that way. And if I turn this off and on, you can see how it darkens it up just a little bit. And yeah, essentially, that's really all there is to it. It's a really simple image to retouch. So there you go. That's a wrap on episode 4 of How I Got the Shot. Hopefully you guys picked up a few things from that you can apply to your future shoots. One thing that I haven't touched on yet is that this channel did hit 20,000 subscribers, and I think that's amazing. Now, with that said, I would really like to get this channel to 100,000 subs before the end of the year. It's just a goal I've decided to set for myself, and I want one of those little silver plaque things that come from YouTube when you hit that milestone. So anything that we can do to get there would be fantastic. So with that said, I do have more content coming for you guys very, very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you again. Cheers. You have to tell them to like and subscribe. What? You have to tell them to like and subscribe. Didn't you just say that you want to reach 100,000 followers? Yeah, yeah. Okay, but how are you going to do that if you don't say, hey, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of this content, hit the subscribe button. Okay, but I mean, they've been on this for a long time. They understand that they're supposed to like and subscribe to things when they like them. Why do you think every other YouTuber on the planet does this at the end of every video? Because they won't do it otherwise. Well, I know, but just do it. Like and subscribe. Oh, you're not even trying.